In photography, a macro lens is a special type of lens that lets you focus really, really close, often allowing you to capture eye-catching photos and revealing intricate details that would usually go unnoticed. Like this little yellow flower, for example, in a gorgeous forest like this. This beautiful little yellow flower would probably go overlooked. But that is the beauty of macro photography. It encourages you to just slow down, take your time and observe your surroundings, giving you an added appreciation of the world around you. So where do you start with macro photography on the iPhone? Well, the macro lens is the ultra-wide camera, but it's not available across all iPhones. Only the 13 Pro series onwards has macro capabilities. And if you've got an older iPhone, you can use one of these. This is a dedicated macro lens from a company called Reflex that you screw onto your iPhone via a special case that you can get from the same company. So let's dive into macro mode on the iPhone. How do you activate the iPhone's built-in macro capabilities? Well, it couldn't be simpler, really. Just open the camera, switch to the ultra-wide lens, and then as you move closer to your subject, it will simply keep focusing up to 2 centimeters. But that's not all, because even when you are this close, you can still switch to other lenses. Like now I can go to the 1x lens for an even closer perspective. But how is this possible when it's only the ultra-wide with macro capabilities? Well, even though it says I'm in the 1x lens, I'm actually still in the ultra-wide and it's just digitally cropping in. And I can prove this by taking a photo and then opening the camera roll, tapping this eye to reveal some information, and it says there, ultra-wide camera. So when you're in any of the lenses, when you move your iPhone close to something and that lens can no longer focus, the iPhone will automatically switch to the ultra-wide and it'll punch in to try and keep your view the same, and that little yellow flower icon will appear. But now we are in the ultra-wide, and now it's back to the 1x lens, and it is getting confused, but that's something that we have to deal with. We can help it out by tapping to focus though, and take our photo. Well, sometimes the iPhone can switch to macro mode when you don't want it to. Like here, I'm trying to frame up a shot of this tree with the leaves in the foreground out of focus in the 2x lens. But you can see here, as I try and compose my shot, the iPhone keeps jumping to macro mode. And when it does this, you can tap this flower icon to make sure it definitely isn't gonna come on. But simply tap the flower icon again to resume this function. Now that you know how macro mode on the iPhone works, let's do some macro photography. And I've come up with an acronym to help you remember these macro concepts I'm about to show you. It is CLICKed. I've cheated a bit to make it sound like a real word, but CLICKed stands for contrast, light, isolation, colors, context, textures, and different. And these aren't all separate concepts. You can use them together, intertwined, to create stunning macro images. So let's start with colors. I'm in a field of beautiful meadow buttercups. Obviously, the colors are the first thing that catch my eye, the yellow against the green. I'm not simply going to move my camera down onto one of these buttercups like this, because even though this is a nice image and it has eye in it, which is isolation, people see these flowers from this angle all the time. I want something that's different, D for different. So I'm going to bring my camera down to the side and use the rule of thirds to frame the image. So now I've got the flower on this point of the rule of thirds, I've got the sky and the trees in the background, and even I've got another flower as part of the same plant on the other point. And not only is this a different and more interesting angle, now that the background is more further away, we also get better isolation because that's how focus works. The closer you get to your subject and the further the background is away, the more out of focus it will be, which isolates it, makes it stand out even more, only adding to the interest. But this won't always be the case, because there's more elements in play here, and one of those is lighting. Now, if I tried to take the same image when the sun was in the middle of the sky or the sun was behind me, my phone will be casting a shadow on this little flower. And that is one of the biggest challenges of macro photography with your iPhone, because you often have to get very, very close. You have to find the right angle where you're not going to be blocking the sun or having the sun directly on your subject, which can make it look really flat. But I don't have this problem here because it is overcast. Next, we have context, which may or may not be spelt with a K. Now, macro photography is about getting close, but you don't have to get absolutely as close as you possibly can all the time. I like to stay further out in the ultra wide and show the context of where my subject is. So here I've got the intricate details in the middle of the buttercup, but I can also see it's in a lovely field surrounded by all of its friends, as Bob Ross would say. And I've got the trees in the background, I've got the sky, paints a wider picture of the scene and tells a compelling visual story. But I can punch in to the 1x lens and I still have some nice context there. I can get even closer with the 2x lens or even the 5. But don't forget, we're always going to be in the ultra wide camera when we see this macro icon in macro mode. And the ultra wide camera is only 12 megapixels. So all of these lenses are digitally punching in. So we're going to lose image quality. So keep that in mind when you switch to one of these other lenses and you're in macro mode, that you are digitally punching in and the image quality might not be as high. In fact, it probably won't be as high as you might expect. Finally, there are textures. In macro photography, interesting textures that people don't often see up close can make for brilliant macro subjects, such as this example of the footprint in the sand. But like I like to do, there are other elements at play here, not just the textures. You've also got the lighting, which is helping enhance these ridges in the sand. And you've got elements like this leading line and the rule of thirds to help elevate the interest even more. So I hope you've seen in this video how you can bring all of these elements together to create stunning macro photos.
This video was a free preview of my iPhone Photo Academy online course. In this course, you'll discover everything you need to know to take stunning photos with your iPhone. So if you'd like to take the kind of photos that will leave your friends and family speechless, please take a look at the full version of iPhone Photo Academy. You'll find a link in the description right next to this video, so click on that link right now, and I'll see you inside the full version of the course.